This is the Volvo Ocean Race, the story of a 45-year obsession, sailing's iconic race around the world, the ultimate test of a team, and the place where elite sport meets human adventure. In 12 editions dating back to 1973, just over 2,000 sailors have competed. 5 have paid the ultimate price in search of glory. Their stories are a reminder of the physical and mental challenges that competitors face. The race began with moments of calm amid the chaos, an adventure for pioneers and dreamers, as well as the world's best sailing talent. But it quickly came to define professional sport's relentless search for marginal gains. Race legend has it that sailors would snap toothbrushes in half just to save a little weight, and one skipper made all crew members have their appendix removed before sailing. With up to 10 sailors packed into 65 feet of carbon fibre for weeks on end, in a race that lasts almost 9 months, it's an adventure that borders on a psychological experiment. The Volvo Ocean 65 yachts they race in are strictly one design, identical in every important respect. So the only differences in performance come from the skill, dedication, and teamwork of the crew. For every second they are at sea, their job is to squeeze as much speed out of the boats as possible. There is no conserving energy, no downtime, no autopilot. It's race, eat, sleep, repeat. On a typical leg, sailors push themselves so hard they can lose as much as 10 kilos, despite consuming up to 7,000 calories a day. New rules for this edition mean more time in the fearsome Southern Ocean, more strategic risk-taking, stealth mode, and the return of female sailors to the heart of the race. Uniquely in professional sport, on board each boat is an embedded multimedia reporter, telling the real story in real time. 7 teams compete in this edition, with no prize money at stake, just the chance to see their names engraved on the trophy, and join an elite few who can say they did it.
It's tough to convey to the average person just how difficult this race is. It's a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week experience. There's no time to shut off. There's no time to stop thinking. There's no time to yourself. It'd be impossible to do something of this magnitude without it changing you.
I truly believe it's the greatest team sport in the world. You can't go home, coach can't call you, no contact with anybody. You actually know there's less people sailed around the world than climb Mount Everest every year.
Spend so much time sailing and you never rest. The goal is 100% of the performance of the boat, always full time. It never stops. It's crazy, this race is crazy because she never stops.
It is physically and emotionally probably a race that will take you to your limits. You are wet, you are cold, you are hungry, you're physically exhausted, you don't get enough sleep, you don't eat any fresh food, yet we love it.
There's a Point Nemo, what they call it, so you're closer to a space station than that you are to land. Well, if you break something over there, then you're in the middle of nowhere. You cannot just call the Coast Guard and they pick you up. You're out in the middle by yourself.
I remember the first time when I started the race with helicopters around, and yeah, it was craziness, right? But now you don't hear it anymore.
The preparation towards the race is almost the race itself. The decisions we take and the jobs we decide to do before the race are important. It's actually sometimes even harder than the race itself.
first team that's going to be announced for this race. You're going to be really proud. Team Axo Nobel. Give it a warm applause, ladies and gentlemen.
15 months before race start, and the first team enters, led by Dutchman Simeon Tienpont. 35-year-old Tienpont is one of the Netherlands' highest profile sailors. This will be his third Volvo Ocean Race, but his debut as skipper. He first competed in the 2005-06 edition.
When I finished the race with ABN AMRO 2, I was 23 at the time. Finished under the bridge in Gothenburg, I thought by myself, wow, this has been a thrilling experience and I want to do this race again and I really want to win it, or at least have a chance to win it, next time.
The Mediterranean port of Alicante in Spain is where the action starts. Achieving victory will mean racing 45,000 miles over 11 lakes, taking in 12 host cities across 6 continents. The route is a throwback to the early years of the race, with long weeks spent in a remote and vast southern ocean, where the waters maraud around the bottom of the planet. Winds as strong as 70 knots. It'll be one of the toughest races for decades, and with all teams in identical boats, winning will be decided on the water rather than at the design stage.
7 Volvo Ocean 65s make up the world's closest offshore fleet. The one-design boats are 65 feet, or 20 metres in length, and weigh 12,500 kilos, about the same as 2 orca whales. The mast is the height of a 10-storey building. Each boat is built using 4.7 tons of carbon fibre, in a process that takes 36,000 man-hours over 7 months. The boats are identical and produce epically close racing. In 2014-15, 6 of the 7 teams won at least one offshore leg and import race. And even after weeks at sea, the boats often finished just a couple of minutes apart. The time gap was as little as 100th of a second per nautical mile. Relatively speaking, that's closer than a photo finish in a 100-metre sprint.
The one design completely changed the race. We have spent sometimes 2 weeks just fighting for every meter, every minute.
So now all the teams have an equal tool. The best team will win.
With the boats as closely matched as they are, it is a 45,000 mile match race. Yeah, it is.
The existing Volvo Ocean 65 race yachts have already lapped the planet once. They were designed and built with at least 2 editions in mind. But as with any high-performance racing machine, it's essential that they are maintained to the highest standard. So before the race, they go through a complete overhaul and rebuild in a dedicated boatyard in Lisbon, Portugal. Each boat is completely dismantled with around 3,000 components, the hull stripped and repainted. After each individual €1 million rebuild, the boats emerge as good as new, weighing exactly the same. All 7 are identical. The second entry is the Dongfeng race team, but they are the first to pick up their fully refurbished boat. The Chinese team are back for their second attempt at victory, with Frenchman Charles Caudrelier at the helm again.
We go for an offshore training, 24 hours, for testing the new sails, and the boat is in very good shape actually. Then we'll be okay, I think, to go back to our base in Lorient and a long offshore of 6-7 days.
In 2014-15, Dongfeng came into the race as underdogs, with a number of inexperienced Chinese sailors in their crew, alongside more seasoned French veterans. By the halfway stage they were surprise contenders, only for a broken mast approaching Cape Horn to stop their winning momentum. They eventually finished third, and in 2017-18, with more time for preparation, expectations are higher.
My rookies are not rookie anymore, they have 1 Volvo experience. Last time I have only 6 months to do something which seems impossible at the beginning, to be ready to race with 2 or 3 Chinese on board who has never sailed offshore. This time, since the day 1, we are focused only on performance, which is a big difference for sure.
As well as the core team of Chinese and French sailors, Caudrelier has boosted his squad with a number of world-class offshore sailors. keen to capitalise on their early entry, he knows that time spent on the water is invaluable.
Preparation of the race, I think, is the key. I think if you want to win, I think 50 or 60% of the job you do it before the race. It's not about money, it's about time. And even if you have a lot of money, you can't buy time. So I want to start early.
But not every team agrees that time spent sailing together in the build-up is key. Despite being the first to enter, Akzo Nobel have decided to use their time to build a new boat, instead of opting for a reconditioned one. They've assembled a squad of some of the biggest names in the sport, but 6 months have gone by and their boat is still being built.
Beautiful. I mean, my intention was that if you had a chance, you would build a new boat, right? And part of it is every of the other boats have been done the 50,000 racing miles, and I don't know, maybe double the training miles. And you never know what happened in the history of a boat, right? So they need to sand all the ceiling as well? Or
yeah, we need to seal that. We're going to use this Icla paint.
It's good. Oh, it's exciting, no? It has a certain psychological advantage when you're a new team and you start also taking care of your own boat. So I don't see it as a disadvantage yet, but I don't know, ask me in a couple of months' time.
A groundbreaking rule change for 2017-18 brings women back to the heart of the race. The Volvo Ocean Race now offers potential crew combinations of 7 all-male, 7 men plus 1 or 2 women, 7 women plus 1 or 2 men, 5 men and 5 women, or an all-female crew of 11. The change is the latest evolution in a race with a long history of female participation. Claire Francis became the first female skipper back in 1977-78. The first all-female crew was Maiden in 1989-90. When a tireless Tracy Edwards remortgaged her house to raise the funds to put a team in the race against all odds. They enjoyed remarkable success both on the water and in terms of the media coverage. More recently, the number of female participants dropped alarmingly, with only 1 woman gaining a place on board across 3 editions from 2005-06 to 2011-12, and she was let go after just 1 leg. That led to a classic catch-22 situation, with outstanding female sailors denied chances on the grounds that they didn't have enough Volvo Ocean Race experience. Now all that has changed. The trailblazing all-female entry from SCA in 2014 proved that women can compete with the guys. And the 2017-18 rule change means that for the first time in years, women will be competing for victory alongside the men.
Well, the women rule is controversial, that's for sure, and it's a lot of people who has positioned themselves against or in favor.
I think it's a rule. I think they shouldn't have done it, but the rules are there, and in that sense I changed my mind completely, because I think if you sell it only 7 guys, then you basically are handicapped compared to a team who have 4 hands more.
I think 7 men is a good rule. I think 11 girls is together is a good rule, and I think the bit in the middle is not very good at all.
For Charles Caudrelier and his Dongfeng team, it's about getting every advantage as early as possible, and he has embraced the new rule. Caroline Brouwer, a 3-time Olympic sailor and Volvo Ocean Race veteran, and Marie Roux, a world champion, have joined his team.
These boats are very powerful. If you have a choice between a man and a girl with the same level, you choose a boy because he's stronger. But with these rules, it will give the opportunity to the girls to have more experience. I have found, I think, 2 good girls, and I trust them, and I think they really sail very well.
For any sailor entering the Volvo Ocean Race, the dream of winning is the driving force. But for some, it runs deeper than a personal quest.
Winning this Volvo Ocean Race will be very, very important for me personally, for the team, and for the whole country. We will fight every day to try to win this race finally.
For Xabi Fernandez, winning is also a matter of national pride. Xabi, an Olympic gold and silver medalist for Spain, is taking part in the Volvo Ocean Race for his 5th time. He's heading up MAPFRE, another returning team from the last edition. No Spanish team has won the Volvo Ocean Race in 10 previous attempts, dating back to 1981-82. He's surrounded himself with some of the most experienced sailors in the business as he looks to make history for his country.
We've been very lucky being able to do the last 4 Volvos in a row, always in the same team core. We know each other a long time ago, most of us. All the campaigns we have done till now has had very good moments, some bad ones as well. And hopefully this time we can put the things together early enough to have a smooth campaign. It's clearly an unfinished business we have.
MAPFRE took delivery of their refitted boat almost 10 months ahead of the race start. The team are based in Sanchencho, northern Spain, and with easy access to the Atlantic Ocean and often challenging weather, it's perfect for training.
We're going out for a couple of nights in the ocean, and we think there's right now 25 to 30 knots perhaps in the first few hours.
Fernandez was fulfilling America's Cup commitments in Bermuda, racing with Ben Ainsley, and was not on board. Within just a few hours of being at sea, he received a call.
When I was in Bermuda, the guys called me and told me we've broke the mast.
MAPFRE's newly refitted boat had lost its mast, snapped into pieces.
That was the first training session after the refit, and everything was brand new, and suddenly you break the mast and you start thinking, wow, we're starting with the back foot here, right?
With no injuries, the team headed back to shore. Training was over.
In those situations, obviously once the mast has come down, everybody's in a bit of shock, but of course the next thing you've got to worry about is the damage to the boat as the mast is still attached and bits are smashing into stuff. If we left it for long in that seaway, it could end up in serious damage. You could actually sink the boat. Long term, we need to make sure we understand why. At the moment, we don't understand why. It's bad enough happening once, we've got to make sure it doesn't happen again.
It's a major setback so early in their campaign, the only solace that it's happened in training. Once the race is underway, serious damage can make or break a campaign.
You can't sail thousands of miles around the world at full speed without hitting some major problems. In 12 editions, many teams have limped home looking more like they've been in a demolition derby than a yacht race. In total, 161 boats have entered, and 29 have broken their masts at least once along the route. There have been other terminal failures too, like the crew of Spanish boat Movistar, forced to abandon ship in the Atlantic in 2005-06. And Camper and Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing, who in 2011-12 both had major structural problems in the most isolated part of the Southern Ocean. Which all goes to show, Volvo Ocean Race sailors need the balance of a tightrope walker, the skill of a master craftsman, and the nerve of a bomb disposal expert.
Something's going to stop you racing, that is a pretty dark place you go to, because it's normally beyond your control.
One big fear at the moment is containers. There's so many containers getting lost over the sides. If you hit that with a high speed, that can be a disaster.
9 months of racing, pushing the boat 100%, you will break something. In 1 minute, the race can be over.
In the last edition of the Volvo Ocean Race, Team Vestas Wind hit a submerged reef in the middle of the Indian Ocean.
I can't believe this. I can't actually believe this is happening. It's really violent and there's big waves crashing up us and wow, this is called race control. No.
With the boat's keel stuck on the reef, the waves started to smash the hull to pieces. Within minutes, it had become a terrifying, life-threatening situation, with the team's location too remote for helicopter rescue.
I'll never forget, being on deck when the sat phone rang and having it be the race office and them telling us that Vestas had hit the reef and that we were the closest boat.
What is the status of your boat?
Team rival Alvimedica headed up by Charlie Enright and Mark Towell, suspended their race. Their priority, the safety of their fellow competitors.
So we just
Are you going to hold off
abandoned the ship. It was falling apart.
We go to some pretty remote corners of the earth. As much as, you know, we're out to win this thing, at the end of the day, we're each other's lifelines as well.
Enright and his crew acted as support until the stranded sailors were rescued by the Mauritius Coast Guard the next morning. Against all odds, the team managed to salvage the boat and rebuild it in time to rejoin the race in the final 2 legs. Alva Medica finished the 2014-15 edition strongly, winning the final ocean leg.
2, 1, driving.
It left Enright and Towell hungry for more.
It's a heavy.
Rookies last time, the 2 men are back to take on a new challenge with a new team.
Just got to Lisbon. We're headed down to the dock. Check out the boat finally. After 2+ years of trying to get back to sailing on these boats and getting back to the race, it's about to become real.
And they would never have guessed at the time that their encounter with Team Vestas was a moment of serendipity.
It looks good. Sounds like the boatyard's done a pretty good job at getting everything ready to go.
2017 and Vestas are back with Enright and Towell in charge.
Hey, Toad.
They're on a mission with the backing of 11th Hour Racing, the programme co-funded by Wendy Schmidt, dedicated to tackling the issue of ocean health.
We viewed our first trip around the planet as a learning experience, and that was always going to be the case because of the way it was set up. You know, when you do something once and you know you can do it better, there's always a drive to come back and improve, you know, and that's a collective one between Mark and myself.
In a bid to play catch-up in offshore training, Team Vestas 11th Hour Racing opted to sail their boat to Newport in the United States. Crossing the Atlantic was a chance for the crew to experience some tough conditions. But the real test for all the teams once in race mode will be in a part of the world where the race's reputation was forged.
Conquering the Southern Ocean has always been a badge of honour for the world's best sailors. These cold and violent waters produce fast downwind sailing, but have spelled the end for many a Volvo Ocean Race campaign. In 2017-18, the teams raced 3 times as many miles down here, with waves as big as houses, and winds up to 70 knots. With double points on offer for the Southern Ocean legs, as well as the transatlantic, there's a fine balance between risk and reward. These ultra-fast racing boats can't just head south to find the shortest route, as hitting icebergs at such speed could have catastrophic results. And down here the sailors are so isolated that if the worst does happen, the only real hope of rescue is from one of their rival teams.
The extremeness of the hostile environment that the Southern Ocean provides escalates all the emotions. You're further from any land or help, and I think that is in the back of your mind. It's the vastness, I think, that is quite overwhelming.
Lay in a cold bath full of ice, turn the water on as cold as it can, run it in your face, and then have a bloke side on throwing a bucket of water in the side of your head every couple of seconds. And you do it for 2 weeks.
If I have a problem, what's going to happen? If I am in the middle of the Atlantic, I know in a few hours I will have a plane flying above me, I will have a cargo ship coming to help me. But here, what's going to happen? You are alone.
It's been nearly 11 months since Team Akzo Nobel entered the Volvo Ocean Race.
She looks perfect, she looks beautiful.
The Dutch team were the first campaign to sign up, but sacrificed valuable on-water time to build a new boat instead of using one of the existing fleet that had been refurbished. They've assembled a squad of some of the biggest names in the sport, including 3 former winners and 1 Olympic gold medalist. But with less than 4 months to the start of the race, the team have a compressed training schedule.
Pretty much feels for us like we're just starting, really.
Basically, we've got quite a lot of sailing crammed in, but we've also got a lot of testing and crew work and sailing together to work out. So it's not a lot of time to get all that done.
In comparison, rival team MAPFRE have spent 2 months more on the water, despite their setback with a broken mast early in training. With their new mast, the Spanish team have maximised every opportunity to train, as have former competitors Dongfeng race team. Hand in hand with technical sailing ability are physical and mental strength, prerequisites for any professional sailor who embarks on the Volvo Ocean Race.
A typical ocean leg can mean 25 days at sea, up to 10 people crammed into 35 square metres for 3.5 weeks. 0 personal space, nowhere to go to blow off steam, and with 7 cameras, 2 microphones and a roving onboard reporter tracking everything they do. Nobody on Earth can better withstand extreme environments, constantly disrupted sleep, a lack of fresh food, and still perform as a team at 100%. Athletes rotate through 4 hours on deck under the blazing sun or being beaten by the waves. They get 4 hours off watch, but it's hardly downtime, with boat maintenance and navigation duties, while they refuel thousands of calories per day and snatch whatever sleep they can, wedged into a violently rocking bunk only 60 centimetres wide, amid relentless noise. Always at risk of being woken to get back on deck for more back-breaking work. It's an ordeal that tests everyone on board to their physical limits, but it's just half the battle.
People cannot imagine how you're always racing, how you have the pressure on your shoulders, keeping your emotions in control when you're going really well, and to pep yourself and the team up when things are not going that well.
Just need one breaking down to take someone with them. So you have to always try to keep the motivation of the group. It's the worst place you can be in the world in a boat if you don't really want to be there.
Well, you need to be physically good enough, and I'm probably the worst physical shape of anyone in our team. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how many times you go to the gym, how many times you look at yourself in the mirror. If you're not tough up here, no matter how many weights you do, how many runs you run, not going to help you.
Making their debut in the race are Team Sun Hung Kai Scallywag. It's Hong Kong's first ever entry, as the city also prepares for its first stopover in 2018. The team is backed by Hong Kong businessman Mr. Seng Huang Lee. In charge of Mr. Lee's campaign is 46-year-old Australian David Witt. Witt's CV includes racing 20 times in the infamous Blue Water Classic, the Sydney Hobart. He's chosen to take many of his existing crew from the Scallywag Super Maxi he regularly sails straight to the Volvo Ocean Race, something he sees as a huge advantage.
And everyone's going to say that we're no chance because, you know, we're not Dongfeng. But when it comes down to it, the guys that are sailing on Scallywag have done, as a team together, way more miles than these boys together. They're all good sailors, but they're all still coming together as a new team. We've been going for over a decade, and that's actually going to be a big advantage over the other teams and why I think we're a seriously real chance to win the race.
Witt's plan is to take the minimum crew option of only 7 men and believes this to be the best choice.
We believe that there's about 200 kilos per person if you take the person's weight plus the gear plus the food, etc, etc. So, you know, if someone like, you know, MAPFRE's taking 2 girls and we've got 7 guys, we're nearly half a tonne lighter.
Witt took part in the Volvo Ocean Race 20 years ago, so knows what to expect. But the no-nonsense Aussie has his own unique perspective on how to run the boat.
You either really like me or you really hate me. There's nothing in the middle. And that comes from just saying what I think should be said, and I'm as far from politically correct as you get. I'm happy to be a bit of a dinosaur and don't have to play that game. As far as the team goes, I think we're generally a bunch of mates having a crack, you know.
Nice and play on! Yes! Yes! That's how you drop it. Just go and tidy that snake up a little, Nibble, and you're good. Oh, that's good.
In our team, everybody's equal. Everyone has a different title, they might have a different role, but everybody is equal. The boat doesn't work without everybody's role, and that's how we're going to treat it off the shore as well.
Making a late entry is Turn the Tide on Plastic, led by the only female skipper in the race, Dee Kafari. Kafari is the first woman to have sailed solo around the world in both directions. In the 2014-15 edition of the Volvo Ocean Race, she was crew on the all-female Team SCA. This time, she's the boss.
When I took the project on, I did laugh and think that Volvo Ocean Race had actually put all the challenges in one boat and given it to me.
And one of the toughest jobs Kafari has is to finalise her crew with just over 3 months to the race start.
I've still got 2 more trial sessions to go, so I will have seen over 40 people out of the 150 that have applied, so I've really tried to give everyone a fair shot. Got some difficult decisions ahead. I wish I could give them all a chance.
Her challenge is not only to do well on the water, but to carry a message about ocean health with an eye firmly on the future of the planet.
We're very passionate about the environment we use as our playground. It's my generation and the generations before that have caused most of the issues, and it's the future generations that are going to have to do something about it. So to have a youth-focused team, they are loving the fact that they get to speak out about something that they think is really serious and they want to make a difference.
Unlike other teams in the race, where they have mainly seasoned and hugely experienced offshore sailors with a minority of rookies, Kafari has a very different balance on board.
I've got 5 girls, 5 boys. I've got 60% of my crew under 30, of which none have ever been in the Southern Ocean before. None have sailed around the world before. Most have probably done a maximum of 3 nights offshore. So experience is minimal. They actually have no idea what they're letting themselves in for. And that's a huge responsibility on my shoulders. They don't know to be afraid. They actually have no idea what they should be feeling because they don't really know what's coming.
It is hard to describe what it's like to take part in this iconic race. Since 1973, just over 2,000 sailors have competed, earning their place on the Legends Wall with sacrifices big and small. Victory has been an obsession for the world's best sailors, but just 11 names are etched on the Volvo Ocean Race trophy, including Connie van Rietschoten, the Flying Dutchman, who is still the only sailor to lead a team to victory in 2 editions. Also Peter Blake, who took part in the first 5 editions and didn't quit until 1989-90 when he finally completed a clean sweep on Steinlager 2. Of 73 sailors racing in 2017-18, 48 have competed at least once before in the Volvo Ocean Race. 14 have tasted victory, and some are still trying.
This will be my 8th attempt to win the race. And up to now, I've been beaten in all the races, even that we got very good and satisfying results. But of course, it's not only the winning. Probably the most important thing for me is I just love being on the water, being on the ocean, fight against the elements. But a winning will be a really nice icing on the cake.
Bauer Becking has spent 3 decades and most of his professional sailing career trying to win the Volvo Ocean Race. Becking is back with Team Brunel, who competed in the last edition and came 2nd overall. But this time it's a late entry for the Dutch team.
Just drop the starboard board halfway down, please.
Bye.
In the last edition, they had 9 months lead-up time before the race started. This time, they have had just 3 months to prepare. Within 2 weeks of their boat being launched, Team Brunel wasted no time to get out on the water. They left Lisbon to sail directly to the UK for a series of compulsory qualification races for all the fleet.
Looks like quite windy tonight, 25 to 35 knots. We'll see who's having his sea legs.
Not only will the team have virtually no time on the water to train, Bauer has only one full-time crew member from his last campaign, his navigator. The rest are all new, some of them half his age.
I'm 54 and we've got a guy who's like 26. He's just fitter and stronger than I am. So that's of course one of the disadvantages what you have when you're becoming a bit older. But with having the experience and knowing what you actually face, that's one of the really good things I think for being older. And you can coach the youngsters in the race to become better sailors, to understand more about themselves as well, because it's a lot in between the ears. If it's not right in between the ears, well then you're gone after one leg, because you will not survive.
Last night was big breeze, bit of an eye-opener for some of the people, and you accelerate down the waves, and so it was just safe and under control, but it was fun.
Although Becking is light on familiar faces, he's been shrewd in who he's picked to be on board with him. With the America's Cup finishing earlier in the year, he's chosen 3 winning America's Cup sailors, including the hottest property in the sport, Kiwi Pete Burling. Burling's place on the crew sets him up in direct opposition to his long-term sailing partner, Blair Tuke, who is on MAPFRE. Together, the pair won Olympic gold in Rio before going on to spearhead New Zealand's America's Cup win. Here, they will each be vying to become the first ever athlete to win sailing's triple crown of an Olympic gold medal, America's Cup and Volvo Ocean Race. With just a third of the lead-up time that they had in their last campaign, Becking and Team Brunel will be going into the race less prepared than they would like. With just under 3 months to the start of the race, all 7 Volvo Ocean Race teams travelled to the UK for the start of Leg 0, a series of 4 qualification races. Although no points were at stake, it was the first time that all the crews would go head-to-head. MAPFRE, with its core of experienced Spanish sailors, smashed the world record round the Isle of Wight and took first place overall with 2 race wins.
I think one of the strongest points we have as a crew is that a lot of us we sail together already, and the new people coming, of course, is very good people, completely switch on, and the things are coming together very nicely, so very, very happy.
Gotta get the sails off. It's 1 minute. 2 seconds. Under Brunel. Here we go, boys. Wind it up. Go straight. Winnie. 3, 2, 1, done. Here.
Time on the water paid off for Charles Caudrelier and Dongfeng, who came second overall and won the prestigious Fastnet offshore race. For Team Brunel, Bauer Becking's 3 decades experience showed. With barely any time on the water prior to Leg 0, the Dutch team posted an impressive 3rd position.
Only 7 days on the water so far. Some of the guys have been a year on the water. I think we sailed pretty smart, and some areas we were quite fast.
With a mid-fleet result for Akzo Nobel, it remains to be seen if having a new boat has any advantage over the rest of the fleet. Vestas 11th Hour finished 5th, despite winning the leg from St Malo to Lisbon. Charlie Enright and Mark Towell would certainly be looking for improvement. Dee Kafari and Turn the Tide on Plastic finished 6th, but kept in touch with the rest of the fleet. A solid first outing for the rookie crew. David Witt and Team Sung Hung Kai Scallywag discovered what they're up against, taking on seasoned teams with larger experience in the Volvo Ocean 65s means adapting fast to this new challenge. With a month to go before the race start, all the sailors, veterans and rookies alike, attended a compulsory safety at sea course at the Marine and Offshore Safety Training Centre in the UK. The state-of-the-art facility simulates the kind of conditions that sailors will face, but can't fully prepare them for the real thing.
Out on the ocean, a cry of man overboard will chill the spine in an instant. In over 4 decades of racing, the ocean has claimed the lives of 5 of our sailors. Bernie Hoskins, Paul Waterhouse and Dominique Guillet in the first edition in 1973-74, Tony Phillips in 1989-90, and Hans Horowitz in 2005-6. Others have been lucky to survive. Bill Abram went overboard in 1977-78. A flock of albatross circled him in the water, allowing him to be located and rescued quickly. Modern life jackets include a harness and lifeline so the sailors can clip onto the boat, because going overboard means serious trouble. Cold shock can give you a heart attack in seconds and completely incapacitate you in minutes. Even when you stay on the boat, the cold is a constant danger. Sea spray rips the warmth from your body 24 times faster than the wind, and a drop of just 2 degrees in your body temperature can bring on hypothermia.
The waves coming over, or somebody just trips over and falls over the side. In no time that person will be miles behind us. The danger of losing somebody is the worst fear what I have.
Mother Nature lets you know very clearly just how insignificant you are sometimes, especially when you get a little bit confident, a little bit relaxed. It is very easy, you're in this environment day on day and you get very comfortable, and that's when people's safety awareness or complacency slips in.
Sometimes the weather or the sea state, can become very critical. These are the moments that you have to listen very carefully of the group around you and decide of how hard I push and how hard I, throttle back.
The qualifying races proved insightful for skipper David Witt, and prior to all the teams travelling to Alicante for the start, he made a surprise announcement. After an earlier decision in his campaign to sail with just 7 men, he would now add Olympic sailor Annemieke Best to his crew.
Contrary to belief, we didn't have a problem handling the boat. That's not what we actually thought we did that quite well with 7. Well, the 2 reasons we've gone to 8. Firstly, because Steve wanted a bit more support from me and the nav station, and it's very difficult to do that with 7 not having enough on deck. And the second reason is we found the right girl to take. And it wasn't about just getting a girl, it was about getting the right person, which under the rule had to be a girl, but didn't bother us whether it was a girl or a boy, it just had to be the right person.
And Sung Hung Kai Scallywag were not the only team to have a crew change as the race start drew closer.
While crew changes are common in every edition of the Volvo Ocean Race, switching skippers has been a lot more rare. You have to go back to 2008-9 for the last unplanned change at the top. The relationship between Axel Nobel and Simeon Tienpont in 2017-18 has been a case of on, off, ongoing. Following a dispute with the management company, the team offered their skipper a chance to continue in charge, but under a new contract. Tienpont declined, and Axel Nobel replaced him with Brad Jackson. But while 3-time winner Jackson was rallying the crew around him, an arbitration process led to the original skipper's reinstatement, and Tienpont returned to take charge once again. The 3 most experienced members of the squad elected not to sail Leg 1, but they were able to complete the crew with a couple of last-minute additions, including a football-style deadline day signing of Antonio Fontes from rival Sun Hung Kai Scallywag. The only way to describe the week was turbulent.
Glad to be back, and it's been a bit of a turbulent week.
All the way up to the departure ceremony on the morning of the start of Leg 1.
The preparation towards the race is even harder than the race itself. I think sometimes we are willing to start a race so we can leave so many things behind, and now it's just racing and sailing.
To get a team on the start line in this race is the biggest achievement of the lot, right? So I'm looking forward to the gun going and just getting out there and getting on with it.
Once you're out there and you're fighting with your team for one thing, and that is to win the leg. We have to keep the boat going, we have to keep each other going, and that's a good feeling of freedom.
When you start the first leg, it's liberating. It's what you've been waiting to do.
You're having a lot of obligations like sponsors, press. The sailing, I think, is always the easy part. Keeping all the people safe, keep the boat in one piece, and then try the moments as well to really enjoy it, because there are moments where it is just fantastic. And I think that's still always winning from all the bad moments what you have.
During the preparation, you're always thinking what I can do to be better. I can work more, I can do more, I need to be faster. I know that the pressure is going to increase until the start of the race. And when the race starts, okay, the pressure will go away. Now we are in action. Now we are playing the game. Stop thinking, just act.
So the stress is really high, but you do get to that start line to go offshore, and it's almost a relief. You can get on with what you're there to do. Sail hard. When you're not sailing hard, you eat, you drink, you sleep, you get up and you do it all again.